You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show. If you're a fan of the show, go and check out our new Patreon site. You'll get access to our private Discord server, exclusive merchandise, access to all live streams and Q&As, discounts on merch from the Cryptid Creature store, and get a chance to be a guest host during one of the show's recordings. Just go to www.patreon.com/Cryptid Creatures. Thank you for listening and supporting the show.
We're going to talk about Todd Hofflander, and he went missing
in Idaho,
out in the wilderness. So,
in Hell's Canyon.
Hell's Canyon, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is that in Idaho? Do we know? I got to check that out on a map real quick.
Yeah, let's find that out. It's down by Snake River, so I don't know where exactly that's at, but we do such good research on this show.
We do. So yeah, Hell's Canyon. Something happened to this dude. He came up missing, and nobody knows the circumstances. But I guess they're weird, so that's why we want to check it out and do the show. So
it's Idaho. I mean,
Idaho is a beautiful state.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah,
I've only been to Boise, not northern Idaho, but I hear that's beautiful up there.
Yep, that's what I've heard too.
That stuff. So
one of these days we'll get out there.
Definitely, for sure. Coeur d'Alene and all that stuff is what.
Oh yeah, that's where we got to go up there, up north, up north.
With that, Brian, why don't you take us into the story of Todd Hofflander and tell us what you've got there in front of you, brother?
Todd William Hofflander disappeared September 27th, 2010 in the Windy Saddle area of Idaho County, Idaho. Remains discovered April 26th, 2020. So, got your little map out, see where all that's at.
Okay, so they did find his remains 10 years later. You said, tell me the place again. Not Hell's Canyon.
The Windy Saddle area of Idaho County, Idaho.
Mountain Pass, okay. Yeah, he's out in the middle of nowhere, dude. He's totally out in the middle of nowhere. What were they doing out there? Did it say? I guess we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get to there in just a minute.
I'd say he's about, where he is? He's exactly east, probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours, as the crow flies, as they say, of Pasco, Washington.
Oh, okay. Well, we know where that's at.
Into Idaho. So he's northern Idaho for sure. South of Coeur d'Alene, but yes, that's where he's at. So continue, my friend. Right. Sorry.
Todd William Hofflander, 39, was last seen in the Windy Saddle area of Idaho County, Idaho, on Tuesday, September 27th, 2010. He and a friend were hiking there, and they decided to separate and take different paths through Hell's Canyon to the Snake River. He never arrived at his destination and was never seen alive again. Nearly 10 years later, in April 2020, remains assumed to be Todd's were discovered. In late January 2021, DNA testing confirmed the identity of the remains as being Todd Hofflander. Hell's Canyon was indeed hell for Todd. The hunting trip to Hell's Canyon. So it was a hunting trip, apparently.
Okay.
Todd was helping some friends scout mule deer bucks between Windy Saddle and McAfee Cabin. The group of friends planned a 4-day hike. The group split up on the 4th day, September 27th, and Todd vanished. He was last seen at McGaffey Cow Camp. The area has very rough, steep terrain with elevations ranging from 8,000 to 1,500 feet above sea level in short distances. He took his black Labrador Retriever Ruby on his hike. Hofflander lived in Lucille, Idaho at the time of his disappearance. He was an experienced hiker and was sufficiently prepared for an overnight trip. He was carrying a pistol of unknown caliber with 5 bullets. He also had a Bic lighter, 2 packs of Lipton red beans and rice, 3 jugs of water, 2 cans of chicken, Chewy bars and pots, and a 15-degree bright red sleeping bag. Minus 15-degree bright red sleeping bag. It is estimated that his pack weighed 50 pounds. He had no radio or cell phone. Ruby the dog was wearing a red doggy backpack. Todd wore a green t-shirt with a white design on the front, blue jeans, a blue baseball cap, size 10 Astolo hiking boots, and a gold wedding band. He was carrying a camouflage print backpack. He had a mustache, a goatee, and 4 scars in his left ear from a previous piercing. Scars on his groin, along his backbone, and on his forehead at the hairline. He had tattoos, the head of Jesus and the word saves on the right side of his chest, a buffalo skull on the left side of his chest, the cartoon character Wile E. Coyote on his right bicep, an eagle on his left bicep, the words Thug Life across his abdomen, the word King across his shoulder blades, and a small circle between his right thumb and index finger. Todd Hofflander goes missing. When Todd failed to show up at noon on September 28, 2010, his friends notified the authorities, and a search and rescue operation started. Backcountry medics out of Orofino and a helicopter from Hillcrest Aircraft Company assisted early in the search. The helicopter flew grid searches of Bernard Creek, Bills Creek, Lightning Creek, and the east and west branches of Sheep Creek, McAfee Basin, and Bear Basin. In addition, dog teams from Idaho and Clearwater counties search and rescue teams joined the operation. An incident command post was set up at Heaven's Gate Lookout and manned by personnel from the Sheriff's Department in Idaho and Clearwater counties. Despite an extensive search, no sign was found. Ruby the dog. After a fruitless search after the disappearance, with hope fading fast, the dog Ruby was found in the woods a few days later, dehydrated but otherwise in good condition. Ruby was found near milestone 15 on Seven Devils Road, south of Riggins. She was located opposite the Seven Devils mountain range from where Hofflander was last seen. Searchers tried to get her to lead them to Todd, but with no success. After finding the dog, searchers combed the nearby area, but found nothing, according to a post by New Boots of Idaho on a forum. So, you would think, I mean, labs are good dogs, right? And they're hunting dogs, and if you raise them right, they're built for that. So, if they found his dog, why wouldn't his dog want to go back and try and look for him?
So the thing that surprises me is a dog's not going to leave his owner unless something detrimental has happened and it knows it has to go, right? We know this. And
Right.
for him to take his dog doing what he's doing in that expedition and everything, that dog spent time with him and knew him very well and would not have left his side.
Right.
You don't. Last thing you want to deal with is a dog that's you've got to like babysit if you're going to be out hiking. Like my dogs are pretty good. They'll just go on the lead on the trail, but you know the one if she sees something else she'll start barking. But doing what he's doing, you got a dog like that, and especially a lab. Labs are dedicated dogs, right?
Oh, yeah. And they're good hunting dogs,
dedicated
too.
dogs in the world. If it was a poodle or something like that, I can see like, I'm out of here, you know.
Yeah.
So something.
Well, that dog would never go out in the woods with me.
This dog knew that something happened to this guy, or it lost this guy, or it could not find this guy. Well, that tells me that,
Or something happened that scared the living bejesus out of that dog.
which I was
And
going
he
to say,
didn't want to go
something
back.
else was involved
Mm-hmm.
that made this dog realize that he knows his owner's not
He's
coming back.
gone. Right.
Or he lost him and he can't find him, and the owner's not responding. Anyway, why did he
They
split
were-
up again?
Todd's wife said that the hunting group had split up because her husband's knee was bothering him and they were supposed to meet down at the river.
Okay.
My husband never showed up down at the river. She said the group thought her husband could make it on his own, otherwise they wouldn't have left him. She felt her husband start She felt her husband start to make his way toward the meeting place, but possibly got turned around because of the injury, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't either. To me either.
Especially if he's an experienced hiker and hunter.
So I'm okay. You know where I'm going here. Sounds like his buddies were in on it. Sounds like the people he was hunting with may have done this to him.
Yeah. The farther I get into this, I think you're right.
Go ahead and keep going though. We are all listening, brother.
Discovery of the remains in April 2020. On Sunday, April 26, 2020, the Idaho County Sheriff's Office and the Idaho County Coroner were notified a hunter found what appeared to be the remains of a human skull above Bernard Creek. The hunter located other items in the area, including a pack containing camping equipment and a digital camera. 8 personnel from the Idaho County Sheriff's Office were taken by jet boat to the mouth of Bernard Creek by Kilgore Adventures. They then hiked approximately 1 mile in, where they located a portion of a human skull and other skeletal remains. They also found hunting gear and a pack that Hofflander's wife positively identified as belonging to her husband. Officers recovered the photographs from an SD card back in the pack, which belonged to Hofflander. The authorities said that everything found at the scene indicated that the remains were Todd's. The Idaho County Coroner, Cody Funk, sent the bones to the Ada County Coroner in Boise for evaluation and DNA testing. In late January 2021, the human remains that were found in the area of the Seven Devils and Bernard Creek in April 2020 were positively identified as Todd Hofflander by County Coroner Cody Funk. The remains were identified by the FBI using DNA analysis. What happened to Todd Hofflander? Did he stumble because of his injury? How did he end up so far from the point where he left the rest of his hunting group? Were Todd's friends somehow involved in his disappearance? Although Ruby was discovered alive, the dog got separated from Todd or left his body. So,
this one's interesting to me more so than the Dennis Martin case, because this guy was a paratrooper.
Yeah, he was skilled.
This guy had his shit together. He had been hunting all his life, and the weird thing about it was he was out with a group of people, that knew him, and just came missing out of nowhere. Not only did he become missing, but everything that he had on him, his rifle, his walkie-talkie, were gone.
Everything. Everything was gone. They never found a trace.
Any of it.
Nope.
It's just weird.
No blood, no nothing.
No blood, no nothing. So, I can paraphrase and read a little bit of this into here so the guests can hear what's going on. November 15th, 2015, Thomas Messick Sr., age 82, an ex-paratrooper, walked into the woods of South Brant Lake in New York State to hunt for deer and was never seen again. No sign of him ever turned up, including a rifle and walkie-talkie, despite a large search of the area. FBI was even involved in the investigation. This is a strange, puzzling, hunting disappearance.
Very.
Yeah. They took a trip to Lake George Wild Forest. Tom lived in the city of Troy in New York State and was out that Sunday with a group of 6 friends and family members who were hunting near Lily Pond in an area of the state land that is part of the Lake George Wild Forest. The older members of the group, 4 of them, were watchers in a static position set along a log or a similar comfortable spot, and were in the near vertical line, whilst the younger hunters used the path along the lake to drive the deer to the watchers as part of the drive. Now, I read up on some of this stuff, and basically where they were at was they pulled up on a parking spot. And this is also on Missing 411, if the listeners want to check this out. They parked in a parking spot along a road that was close to a lake, and there were 4 older gentlemen. I guess they were all in their 80s. They walked about 100 yards deep into the woods from that road where they parked. And the other 3 or 4 younger, their sons, basically, I think they took ATVs or four-wheelers and rode up along the ridge line, way up high up on, the mountain to try to drive deer down to these guys to shoot, is basically what was going on here. And right. Tom was the farthest one out. So if they parked at said spot and you had a guy that said, okay, well, I'm going to walk 100 yards in from the truck here, the next guy would walk down another 100 yards and then walk in the woods, I believe is what they did. So they were maybe 100 yards apart and 100 yards deep.
And 100 yards in, yep.
I believe. I can spot check that, but that's kind of the story of what happened. So, so after 55 years of hunting with longtime friends, senior men at the Messick's hunting camp, they decided to try this area for the first time. Tom was supposed to stay in one spot as members of the group walked through the woods to push deer toward him. But when they arrived at the location where he was supposed to be, he was gone. Without a trace of him or his belongings, no sign of any deer was found that day. He was wearing duck boots, camouflage pants, a coat, gloves, a red and black check hat that he'd worn for many years. He carried a rifle and a walkie-talkie. None of it was found. Who was Tom Messick? He served in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division. He was 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighed about 160 pounds. He was an experienced hunter and woodsman and taught hunter and survival training for many years. Did you catch that? Hunter and survival training for many years. So
he knew what he was doing. I mean, he's no slouch in the woods.
Right. He had some heart problems, lost an eye in an accident with an explosive device in the early 20s. Right. He had poor vision and limited hearing as well. Okay. So he was last seen at 10 a.m. when he did not show up to the agreed upon time where they were done hunting. His friends called the forest rangers and they searched for him from 4:30 until 4:30 p.m. From 4:30 p.m. Until dark around 7 p.m. And at that point, half the group stayed and fired their rifles and honked the car horns to attract Tom to the area. The rest of the men left the scene and reported him missing to the family and authorities. Okay, so let's pause right there and talk about that. Guy goes hunting. He's 82 years old. He's a paratrooper. He served in the Army.
Right.
He taught hunter and survival skills.
Right.
So what's the first thing you think?
It's not like he just wandered off into the woods and got lost and they never found him.
Right.
He knew what he was doing.
Right. So what do you think? I mean, do you think his 3 older buddies who he's known all of his life and they're 80-some years old and then their sons did something to him and killed him and buried him?
No.
Why?
Why would they?
Why would they take?
By all accounts, everybody loved this guy.
All these people were in on killing this guy. Was he that bad of a person?
No.
Here's how we're going to get Tom. We're going to take him on a hunting trip, and there's going to be 7 of us going to get involved in this.
Yeah, there's no way.
This guy comes up missing, and there's nothing left of him. And they search, Brian. They search for him for days.
Yeah.
And they do not find this guy. They can't find this guy. A survival guy. What's up with that?
Well, I mean, it could have been a number of things. We're going to rule out wild animal attack because there was no blood. I mean, all of his stuff would have still been there scattered around. There would have been shreds of clothing, something to show that he was attacked by a bear or a mountain lion or whatever. But there was nothing there. Could have been abducted by aliens, possibly, but it was daylight and nobody saw anything else or heard anything. So that kind of rules that out. Could it have been
Bigfoot?
Some sort of cryptid creature?
Bigfoot?
Could have been a Sasquatch. Could have been a...
I mean...
That really is the only conclusion you can come to.
Here's what I just in this brief moment that we're talking about this and what we've laid out here in this episode is For someone like this guy to come up missing like that, being around that many people, being experienced as he was, something happened to him.
Right.
He didn't just decide, I'm 82. I haven't had sight in one eye for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to disappear.
I'm just going to wander off in the woods and never come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see that happening either.
He didn't leave on his own accord. I think you're right. No. He was not attacked by a wild animal per se.
They leave traces.
Like a mountain lion or a bear. I think he would have shot his rifle. I think he was taken abruptly, quickly, and surprisingly.
Right. The thing that gets me is all of his stuff went with him.
Yeah, I know.
That's the amazing thing. They never found not even a candy bar wrapper.
Yeah, he had snacks in his coat. They said, an animal would have eaten that.
Oh yeah, like I said,
shit
all
it
that
out somewhere,
shredded in the ground somewhere. I mean, animals don't throw stuff away in the trash can.
If something would have walked up on him, he would have fired a warning shot. Something that was big enough to take him away. So, I mean, you talk about alien abduction. That's possible. But like you said, they were within 100 yards of each other. Somebody would have heard or seen something. You would think. I'm not ruling it out. But he would have had to have been taken quickly, abruptly, surprisingly. Knocked out. But why?
Well, yeah, to be able to not even yell out or fire a shot.
Right. He's just he taught survival, hunting and survival skills. Why would he not give a warning? He was totally taken by surprise by whatever caused his disappearance and had not time to react somehow, some way. Which means he could have been knocked out. Somebody could have snuck up on him and knocked him out.
Or thrown something and knocked him in the head.
Or thrown something like a rock and knocked him in the head. Let's just say that he was knocked out. Why would any people out there in the woods, meandering around, decide to kill an 82-year-old man? What, to take his rifle?
An armed 82-year-old man.
They want to take his rifle and walkie-talkie and pawn it at some pawn shop? Is it worth killing some guy over there? Or maybe a little bit of cash in his wallet? Are people really that deceitful in New York, in upper state New York?
Are there really that many people out wandering around the woods to do that?
Yeah, and why would you be wandering around the woods? Not
like he was sitting on the edge of the woods. He was in the woods.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't even see him from the road.
I mean, the only logical explanation...
And it was 10 a.m. in the morning.
I can think of is he walked and fell into some hole down in some deep cavern in some cave.
I was thinking that maybe sinkhole or something.
And no one noticed it.
Yeah.
And they should look into that. They should go back to if I was his kids. But with the search party, you'd think someone would have...
They would have had to have done the grid pattern, right?
I think they did. I think they did do the grid pattern, I believe.
Yeah. So
I should read more into this. I haven't gotten too much farther, but
I know this one took us by surprise because we were supposed to have a guest and they canceled. So
yeah, it's all right. No big deal.
Here we are.
We've been wanting to do this show, so we're doing this show.
That's right. We've been wanting to talk about Tom.
It says more than 15 agencies were involved, including the DEC, Forest Rangers, Canine Police Unit, police officers, FBI, Quick Response Team, State Police Special Operations Response Team. So they loaded up on this one too. Because they knew.
Yeah.
They knew that Tom should not be missing.
At least not without a trace.
The weather was poor with heavy rain, but sniffer dogs were deployed before the worst of the rain arrived. Of course, it was raining. It always is.
Always. Isn't it always raining?
Searchers walked through the woods, no matter how thick they were, including swamps, and checked nearby roads, but there was absolutely nothing. Areas were tied off with a string to box off a specific area to allow detailed search of every grid zone. It was described as a spider's web of string and divorce. Now, something comes to mind. Call me crazy. What if you decided to climb up some tree to get a better look and Spot and got stuck up there, choked, died somehow, and people just didn't happen to look up. Is that possible? An 82-year-old man gonna no. An 82-year-old man is not going to climb a tree, is he?
I mean,
it's
it
said
could be possible, but it's not.
These guys weren't
feasible,
walking
really.
in.
I can't. Yeah, no 82-year-old guy with a bum hand and one eye is going to try and climb a tree.
Yeah, I'm just throwing everything out there. We gotta question it.
I know.
But it says in the thing that they just kind of like walked in, I think, and kind of sat on tree stumps or just found a spot to, wait.
Right. Yep.
So even if he climbed a tree, he's not going to get high enough to where he's going to get out of view of somebody seeing him laying there dead if he died up in the tree, right? While he was waiting for these deer to come through.
Right.
So that rules that out, right? You agree?
Yeah. Yeah, no 82-year-old man is climbing a tree.
It says areas were tied off with a string to box off specific areas to allow a detailed search of every grid zone. It was described as a spider's web of strings in the forest. So they did do that.
So they did do the big grid pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So
it says, given his age, searchers were baffled, as he could not have gotten far from his original location, and some said it was weird that there were no sounds of wildlife whilst the SAR teams were in operation, almost like something had silenced the woods.
So, and what usually happens when people have a Bigfoot encounter?
It gets very quiet in the woods.
Everything gets very quiet.
Foul play. Abduction. His wife said he'd been in the woods since he was a boy. If he got lost, he would have cut a piece of his jacket and tied it to a tree and done other things he learned. His wife said her greatest fear was that he was the victim of foul play. We're going to be talking about Dennis Martin. He became missing in June of 1969.
Right.
In the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
6 years old.
6 years old, almost 7. And the weird thing about it is they never solved the case. They never found him.
Right. That's not the only weird thing about it.
No, it's not the only weird thing about it.
This was the largest search for anybody in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park ever or since.
Yeah. And involved special forces.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they brought a 6-year-old to find a missing 6-year-old kid. They brought in the Green Berets.
Right. So, I mean,
why would they do that?
We get into that. We can get into that.
We're gonna.
I'll just read a little paragraph here, this to give some insight.
Government conspiracy.
Well, yeah. The disappearance of Dennis Martin. Dennis Martin was a 6-year-old resident of Knoxville and was visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park with his father, grandfather, older brother on Father's Day weekend in 1969. The camping trip was a family tradition for the Martins. The family hiked from Cades Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day they hiked to Spence Field near the Appalachian Trail, where they planned to spend the night. So the Appalachian Trail, Brian, I think that thing runs isn't that a vast trail that runs the whole length of the Appalachian mountain range?
Yeah, it runs across the top of the Appalachian Mountains, actually. Mm-hmm. Right along the spine of them. Heading
out to the East Coast, Maine specifically, I think we were talking about that. And there's a spot where I can hit, and I think it's New Hampshire, actually, the Appalachian Trail, and I'm gonna go check that out.
You can go check that out?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be fun.
For sure. With camera in hand, believe me.
Better.
But it says, Martin disappeared on June 14th while planning on surprising the adults with his brother, the other children from a separate family the Martins were camping with. So basically, him and his brothers were going to go take off in one part of the woods and sneak around behind and scare the parents.
Right, and try and jump out and scare them.
Mm-hmm. And the story goes is that for some reason they didn't want, I read that they didn't want Dennis going with them because he had a red shirt on and he would give him away. So they told him to go a different way or go around the other way by himself to deter maybe the parents or whatever.
Right.
So basically, After not seeing him for like 5 minutes when all the other kids had returned, the father became concerned and began searching for him. The father ran down the trail for nearly 2 miles until he was sure he could not have gotten any further. After several hours, they sought help from the National Park Service rangers. So at this point, Dennis is not there.
And of course, they didn't have cell phones or anything at that time. It was 1969. So his grandfather had to hike out and go to the nearest ranger station.
Yeah.
Which is a couple miles.
Yeah.
So he had to hike out to get help.
And I'm sure it was later in the evening or nighttime at that point.
Yeah.
It says the area where Martin disappeared is marked by steep slopes and ravines. Wild animals such as copperhead snakes, bears, feral hogs, and bobcats inhabit the area. A downpour broke out shortly after Martin's disappearance, dropping 3 inches of rain in a matter of hours, which washed out the trails and caused streams to flood. Temperature of the night of June 14th dropped to nearly 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wet and cold.
Yeah. Could a bear have grabbed him? Yes. Very possible.
Yeah, but I think people would have heard a bear.
I think they would have found it. They would have found some remains. They would have found this thing.
Right.
If we're not going to bring anything else into the subject, I would say that most likely it probably was a bear that could have grabbed this kid, drug him off in a cave somewhere, never to be found. But that's not what I think happened. I don't think that happened because I think they would have found traces of that.
Yeah. Could have been some weird loner guy that's just out in the woods walking around, hiding from people or whatever.
It talks a little bit about that. Reading on here, says search efforts, including a separate search by the National Guard and Special Forces, found no trace. Heavy rains during the first day's search hampered efforts. I would think that Special Forces would have found a bear.
Now, yeah, and I can understand the National Guard helping because that's what they do. For the most part, they help with disasters and emergencies and stuff.
Yeah,
but the Green Berets, the Special Forces of the Army, for God's sake, really?
I mean, they could have been in the area just doing some training and thought, well, hell, we'll jump in and help this.
Well,
maybe that was what. Maybe
that could too, but I don't know.
So it says 1,400 people were involved in the search effort. Footprints were found in the area, but dismissed as being Martin's and determined by park officials to have been left by a Boy Scout participating in the search.
Right.
The child-sized footprints led to a stream where they disappeared. The tracks indicated that one foot was barefoot, while the other was an Oxford type of shoe Martin was wearing, or a tennis shoe. Retired park ranger and author Dwight McCarter believes that they were prints belonging to Martin, as the tracks were not part of a group, and none of the Boy Scouts were searching while barefoot. Okay, so the kid he was still walking somewhere and lost a shoe. Why would he? Well, I mean, I don't know. 6 years old, you can lose a shoe, I guess, pretty easily.
Unless he was being pulled along.
Yeah, that's a good point. By who?
Or what?
It says a shoe and sock were also found. By June 22nd, 56 square miles of ground had been covered. More than 1,000 searchers continued to look. Okay, so 56 square miles, that's a lot of area. I mean,
it's a lot of area.
Unless an animal is just coming into that area to hunt or whatever, they're not going to.
Bear's not going to drag it 56 miles.
They're not going to travel that far away. Period.
No.
Not in that short of time, right? So,
and a bear is also not going to cover somebody's mouth. How come the kid didn't scream? If a bear took him, he would have been screaming.
Yeah, no noise was made or no noise was heard, apparently. So
that's what they said.
It says the search was officially closed down on September 14th, 1969. As of 2021, it is still the largest search in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It says Dennis's father. Yeah,
they didn't find him.
No, they didn't. They're not going.
Not
to.
A trace.
They're not going to find him, unfortunately. Dennis's father offered a $5,000 reward back then, equivalent to $35,000 now, for information. Psychics offered clues. says a ginseng hunter claimed to have discovered and scattered the skeletal remains of a small child in Big Hollow, Tremont. He kept the find to himself until 1985 because of fear that he would be prosecuted for the illegal ginseng. A sequential search turned up nothing. So there's some theories about this they list, and I just pulled this information off, the internet like we do.
Right.
And you found some stuff that we can get into as well. That's a little bit more detail about this. But it says there's some three main theories that exist about what happened to Dennis Martin. And it says the first is that he became lost and perished from exposure or some other cause, likely during the first night. This is the most probable theory according to park officials. But I don't believe that one so bit, because they would have found the body. Would they not?
Yeah.
They would have found the body, right?
Yeah, they would have.
So
they would have found blood. If it would have bear, there would have been a blood trail, something.
They're saying that he became lost and died from exposure. That's the most probable theory. Well, then where was he at?
Yeah, where's the body?
He's not going to travel 56 miles.
Not a 6-year-old kid.
The second theory is he was attacked by a hungry bear, or less likely a feral pig, and carried off.
Nope, no blood.
Again, I think they would have found something.
Blood.
The third is that he was abducted and taken out of the park by something or someone. His father was proponent of the third theory. On the afternoon that Martin disappeared, tourist Harold Key and his family heard an enormous, sickening scream, and shortly thereafter witnessed an unkempt, rough-looking man running up the trail near where the scream had come from. Mm-hmm. Key thought the man who got into a white car may have been a moonshiner. Okay, so I thought for a second he saw Bigfoot. That's why he called it rough like a man, but this was a real dude.
Well,
because he got in a white car.
How far was he?
No, it says he says he watched him get into a car.
Did he?
Yeah. And then park rangers and the Federal Bureau of Investigations concluded that there was insufficient evidence to link the sighting to Martin's disappearance, particularly given that the Key sighting was approximately 5 miles away from where Martin disappeared. The exact time of the sighting being unknown and the lack of trails connecting to the two sites. So, what do you think, Brian?
Bigfoot. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
No, we're not kidding. I mean,
this is actually a pretty good case to start with, because I mean, and everybody that's listening, you can look on the internet and check all this stuff out for yourself. We're not making it up. I did find another podcast, I guess it was, I was listening to. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he was talking about this case, and he was talking about around those areas in the Appalachian Mountains are reported wild men, and that were people from way back that just ran into the, after the Civil War or during the Civil War or whatever, didn't want to fight, took off into the Appalachian Mountains, just disappeared, and eventually became feral. The theory, so the story goes.
I mean, I believe, yeah.
And some of them took their families with them. Some of them didn't. But how are these people procreating if they didn't take their families with them? How are they? Mm-hmm. How are these wild men living on? Well, I'm sure they're not 200 years old.
I'm not against the theory that there's that there's human beings out there living in remote areas, never seeing civilization. I'm sure that's probably going on.
But we also know from a, reliable source, I guess, that there are a couple different kinds of Bigfoot.
Right. Well, there's
some that are more human looking. Mm-hmm. Wild men.
There's a human type and a gorilla type.
Right.
So we're told. But looking at this whole situation, here's my point. I can see if you're at like Disney World or a park like that, a child getting taken, abducted for whatever reason. ungodly known way why people would steal a child for money, what have you. I'm not going to go into that.
Sick people.
It just appalls me.
That's another day.
But to be out in the middle of nowhere,
Right. In the middle of one of the biggest wilderness parks.
if you're going to try to abduct a kid, why would you try to do it because how are you going to get out of there? You know, they were at a point, they were miles from their
in pretty
vehicles
deep.
or whatever.
Yeah, if you check the map, they were in pretty deep.
You know, why would you make it so hard on yourself to kidnap a kid way out in the middle where you've got to get yourself back to a vehicle or somewhere, unless that's where you live? Now, that being said,
Right.
I mean, what are the chances of some, whatever you want to call them, being
Out
out
there in the
there?
mountains, pretty good.
I mean, it's possible, you know. Deliverance, you saw that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
those
Brian-
weren't wild men or big feet. Those are inbreds.
Again, Brian, they would have found those. There's people's house or their cabin
Eventually,
or
they would have
whatever, or
found
their
something.
tent
Yeah.
in that search.
Yeah.
It's not feasible. It doesn't make sense for people to do that intentionally. So I rule out humans for that matter and that matter right there. I mean, again, I don't think it was
Yeah,
a
there's-
bear or a. Could it have been a mountain lion? It's possible,
Still would have been blood.
but you're right. There would have been blood. You would
If
think
it
there was
was
some
any
blood.
kind of wild animal, there would have been a blood trail.
The
or at
thing-
least spots.
The thing that got me was the footprints. You know, one shoe, not one shoe, and how it led to the stream, and then it was
And
disappeared.
stopped at a stream, and yep.
So
Where'd he go?
he must have crossed the stream somehow. So that tells me right there it wasn't initially an animal that took him, but something led him away from his campground. Again, had he got lost and wandered away, they would have found him eventually. He wouldn't have got very far. They would have found this kid in 56 square miles.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
We're going to talk about Aaron Hedges. Aaron went missing in the Crazy Mountains quite a few years ago. So let's just get into it and see what we can come up with. What do you say?
Right on, let's roll.
All right. So the story goes is that Aaron Hedges, 38 years old, he was a well-regarded hunter from Bozeman. Is that Montana, I believe?
Bozeman, Montana. Yep.
Was last heard from on September 7th, 2014, and to this day has not been found. They discovered some things from him, which we'll talk about later, which is the weird thing to me. The weirdest part of this whole story is the end.
Yeah.
But officials have attempted to find answers to a riddle that may never be solved. So that's what we're doing here tonight. We're going to try to come to some terms with this. And if anyone out there hears this and knows of
Maybe-
anything or comes up with
Yeah,
anything,
maybe somebody knows something, and
how cool would it be to solve a missing case by one of our shows, you know?
oh man, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
So, Brian, as you know, the story goes, the mystery began when Hedges became separated from two friends who had accompanied him on a hunting trip into the Crazies. They were archery hunting, I guess.
Yep.
Aaron, supposedly something was going on where they kind of got hit with a snowstorm.
The horse got spooked. Yep.
Okay. There was snow on the ground, however, I think,
Right.
But they had stopped at some hunting camp that they had. And I guess, was it up the trail for a few miles? There was a storage depot.
Well, what happened was you skipped the whole part there.
Okay.
The horse got spooked, reared up, and they lost most of their gear, and Aaron lost all of his, except for the backpack I think he had on. So he didn't have a tent, didn't have nothing. So they got to their camp spot, their hunting spot, but up the road, they had another spot where, I say up the road, but it was quite a ways away. But they had another spot where they kept spare gear. So now that's where we are. So good.
Okay, like a little hunting cache, so to speak,
Right.
if they needed extra supplies. And that's
Right.
right. That horse threw him off and then lost their. So Aaron's going to go get these supplies, and there is snow on the ground, I believe. There's quite a bit of snow at this time. They're probably up there, pretty high. Aaron Hedges reportedly radioed his friends to let them know he had missed a turnoff back to their camp. His plan was to seek shelter near the Sunlight Lake area. They apparently had a hunting camp the previous year. It was understood that he was headed to that cache, or cache, however you say it.
Cash.
So another thing about this is that we've talked about between you and me is that Aaron and his friends, or Aaron knew this area very well. He had went there and camped a lot. He knew that turnoff. He knew where he was going. And for whatever reason, for him to miss this turnoff,
Right.
even with snow on the ground, I guess, the guys were saying it's an obvious, you just go left, you don't go right, So that kind of throws me off a little bit that he did that. I mean, what's going on there? And if he did miss it, why wouldn't he just head back toward it,
Yeah. I don't know. Unless it was dark and he just decided to camp until morning. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Depends on what time the horse got spooked and they lost their gear, I guess. Says the original plan was that he was going to go back up to the cache to get a sleeping bag and some other stuff and then come back. He radioed them that he had missed the turnoff, and they told him he needed to come back up the trail and come back into the camp. That was the last they heard of him. The duration between the time Hedges went missing and the authorities being notified did raise some eyebrows, especially among amateur sleuths on media who made the instant unabashed accusations of foul play. Even Roenberg, an experienced bow hunter, did concede that the time lapse seemed peculiar.
Yeah, they did wait an oddly long time to report that.
I never really thought about that. I mean, I never thought about foul play with his buddies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when we started talking about doing this, when I tried to look into it some more, and there's a lot of theories about his friends being involved and his missing. So, but that doesn't explain the end of it. So we'll get to that.
Right. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But his friends were cleared. So
yeah, they were.
At least as of now.
Says here, by the time we were notified and able to spin up, the weather had hit. We were dealing with 2 feet of snow in the mountains. This is from the search party head guy, I guess. The continuing storm made air searching difficult for the first day or two, actually impossible.
Yeah, isn't it funny how with all these, the majority of these missing things that we do, the weather always seems to turn bad right in the middle of the search.
Yeah, I would say all of them.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the weather has turned bad.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of weird too.
Even in the Dennis Martin case, you remember it rained and stormed so hard. But
they had to stop for.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, something to keep in mind as we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't make sense at the end, but
Nope.
says search crews entered the Park County side, focusing their efforts on the area that stretches from the Cottonwood Lake Trail to Trespass Creek. According to the authorities, the hunters had begun their trip at the Cottonwood Lake Trail. They said, we have 2 feet of snow. It was snowing hard. We actually deployed a horse team. Okay. The temperature dropped 35 degrees. It was very cold and very wet.
Mm-hmm.
The horse team got back well after dark, but didn't search into the darkness and the snow. So that makes it difficult. If you're looking for somebody and it's snowing, I mean, yeah, you can look for footprints in the snow, but they're going to get buried.
Yeah, but if it starts snowing after they're gone, then what are you looking for?
Right. And the wind's going to be blowing, so I can understand that. Again, this guy knew this area very well. He'd hunted there many times. He knew the route. So why would he end up missing? Why would he end up missing the trail?
Right. That's big question number one.
It does key me back to his buddies then, you know,
Yeah, so far.
a little bit.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, these guys are kind of shady.
Right. You know, and the reason we kind of employ this into our podcast is because we think that sometimes people come up missing not by human hands, you know, by something else.
Right.
And it's still very possible in this case. But, you know, if we can figure this out, we'll figure this out, human or not. It says they exhaustively searched the crazy mountains east of Wilsile and included 20 dog teams, 7 horse teams, 59 ground searchers, and National Guard, and private helicopters equipped with night vision equipment and spotlights. By September 22nd, officials decided to scale back the search until they received more information. That moment arrived this past summer. I guess this was written the year after this happened, when Roger Besalowicz, a butcher from Powell, Wyoming, happened upon Hedges' belongings while visiting relatives at the Anchor Ranch in Sweetgrass County. So this dude found some stuff. My son-in-law was going to fix some fence, and it was kind of steep, so I dropped him off at the top, referring to the rancher Charlie Rain. It was going to take a while for him to get done fixing the fence, so I had some time to kill. He told me if I wanted to look at a beautiful view, to go on top of the ridge above, and I did. After taking the vista, Roger decided to take a shortcut through the stand of timber. That's when he spotted an orange hunting vest, as well as a backpack and clothing. His initial fear, I thought a bear got somebody. Okay, I want to back up here, too. They did find his boots. The search team did find some boots.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. At a camp spot where somebody had stopped, you know, to rest or spend the night.
Yeah, there was a fire pit there, wasn't there?
Yep.
And I think it's some articles of clothing or some articles. I remember they said this.
Well, I know there was the boots.
The boots were there.
But I don't know if there was anything else at that spot.
They said that part of the backpack strapping had been cut off and burned in the fire.
Yeah, the waist belt thing.
I don't understand that.
I don't either. That's weird. Why would you do that?
And why would you leave your boots there?
When it's cold and snowy.
Right. Talk about, is it hypothermia where people take their clothes off or something? But your boots would be the last thing you think you
I don't
take
know.
off.
I don't think. I don't know. That's weird to me that they would find the boots right there.
Where they found the boots wasn't it on this ridge, this high cliff with a huge drop off? Mm-hmm. And the weird thing about it was to get to where they found his other belongings later on, he would have had to cross that river, that
You'd have to go down and go up.
And no shoes?
Yeah. In winter?
Doesn't make sense.
He wouldn't have made it that far.
Doesn't make sense to me. So back to Roger, this guy finding his remains miles away. He says, my first thought when I saw the clothes piled up against a tree, I just knew there was going to be a body there. There was a lot of bear activity where they flip rocks over to eat the bugs underneath. I just knew there was going to be a body there, but there wasn't. The inventory at the scene included a bow, backpack, socks, shirt, sweatpants, and a vest. The backpack had holes in it, which he assumed were caused by small varmints. Wrappers from granola bars along with other debris were scattered nearby.
And wasn't there a coffee cup as well?
I think there was a coffee cup sitting on a log, like someone had been drinking out of it. There was food. I think they found actually granola bars in the backpack.
Yeah. I mean, if that was a bear, that would have been ripped apart.
There's no way that was a
nothing
bear,
left.
right? There's no way a bear was going to do that.
Nope.
His body's not there, but his stuff is. So someone or something had to put it there. Or he managed to live to that point. How the hell, I don't know. 9 months later. And here's the weird thing about where they found that stuff. Let me back up here too. Where they found that backpack and his bow and all that stuff, there within eyesight was a home, a house, a ranch.
Yeah. Yeah, right across the field.
So he very easily could have just walked up to that door and said, help me, I've been lost for 9 months. Or however how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that was Aaron who left his stuff there. Weird thing is that why were his clothes there? What's going on here? even if it was foul play by another human, it doesn't add up. You wouldn't leave his belongings out where someone's going to find them. You know,
Nope, you wouldn't think.
You get rid of them. You
Especially-
burn them,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, burn him, bury him, something. Throw him in a cave.
Just a weird situation altogether. It says here, I thought some out-of-state hunter got cold and disoriented and wanted to go home, but he couldn't find his stuff. So I gathered it all up to put it in a backpack to haul it back out. When I was just about done, I saw a piece of paper, and it was part of his license, and it had his name on it, and it said Bozeman, Montana. So he found his license. Just kind of lay in there.
Interesting.
I mean, if this is a work of human hands, serial killer, revenge, whatever you want to call it, you don't do that stuff. You just don't leave that stuff laying there.
Right.
And
Yeah, you'd make him disappear completely.
his license and everything just kind of laying there in the open. I don't know. It's just weird to me. The fact the gear had been left among the trees by hedges, he would have not been that far from possible rescue. It was a couple miles from the main ranch house, so he could have gotten there.
Yeah.
Who knows how long his stuff was sitting there before they actually found it? You know, was it a few days after he came up missing? Was it 9 months later?
It was in pretty good shape, but I don't think it would have been 9 months later.
Yeah. I just don't get it, man. Just weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that being hypothermic and disoriented, Hedges removed layers of clothing and headed in the wrong direction? Yeah, it could.
There's a possibility, I guess, but I mean, he was an experienced outdoorsman. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. And then if I take a wrong turn for whatever reason, I'm going to go back the right way. And if I didn't, and I called my buddies or called you and said, hey, Brian, I'm not, I'm lost here. I would be trying to get back. I'm not just going to stake out the night from where I'm at unless it was really, really getting bad. That's the only thing I can think of is if the storm was
especially
terrible.
especially since he was on a trail, a well-marked trail.
And to note that, it says here, if the hunters began their trip from the Cottonwood Lake trailhead on the west side of the mountains, and Hedges was bound for Sunlight Lake to the north.
Mm-hmm.
How did he end up on the east side of the range? The distance he would have had to cover was 15 miles, much of it trail and arduous. I don't get it, man.
I don't know.
I don't
It's
get
crazy.
it. Mountain lion's not going to drag somebody that far. A bear's not going to take somebody that far.
No, they're just going to rip them apart right where they're at.
This is definitely not done by animals that we know. We can exclude that, can we not? This is
Right.
not done by animals that science knows exist. We'll say that.
Right. No. There's no blood. There's no nothing.
So he was taken by something with intelligence. I don't think he traversed that amount of miles on his own. Didn't he have a radio anyway? He had a
He
radio.
had a walkie-talkie, yeah.
So what happened with that?
I don't know.
Says we've got a lot of unanswered questions, and until we have some...
They never did find that walkie-talkie.
I don't think they did.
Mm-mm.
Another weird situation. We've got a lot of unanswered questions, and until some credible information to push us in another direction, it's just an open investigation. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out with me for this episode of The Missing, and I'm glad we got to do this again here.
Hell yeah, man. Me too. I like doing these.
I do too. We'll try to get somewhere out there for the listeners. So until next time, my friend, I'll talk to you later.
Right on, man. See ya.